So it is September 2nd, 6:31 p.m. Usually I want to do this like around midnight cuz like that's when like things usually stop happening and it feels like a good time to do recaps, but it's been like 3 months, several months since my last one, so it really doesn't matter anymore. So why was there this huge what do you call it? This delay, this like empty period. Why did I stop making my journals? Well, mostly it's because I was sort of going through like a transitional period in my life where I was dealing with quitting my job and then applying to school. I don't remember if I mentioned this last time, but I finally got in, got all my courses done and everything, got my student loans applied as well, got lucky with the grant as well. I'm gonna do criminology, the bachelor's degree. I'm not gonna be doing masters. Mostly just kind of like out of a decision that was honestly kind of hastily made. I think I really just wanted to get out of the job when I told my family about it, but I mean, I think criminology isn't that far off from my psychology degree now. I don't know, we'll see where it goes. Also, like the school that I'm going to that offers criminology degree and courses is like I think is pretty good for like employment as well. They have a something that's kind of like a co-op, but it's more specific for the criminology students. So that is definitely nice. Also, the volume was very, very high. So yeah, it's been a few months and I got my phone here with stuff recorded along in the past few months. Just some ideas here and there. Again, I think I'm still more or less in a depressive mood, or at least early on, where things weren't exactly like that settled down yet. So things might be a bit more depressing, but I think right now my mind is so distracted from everything because I'm, getting prepared for school and stuff that I guess I just don't have the time to be depressed is the best way to put it. Not sure if that's really healthy. Maybe that's how people become workaholics, to get their mind off of things. But I don't know. Anyways, so here's the first thing that I recorded in my journal. I didn't write down any dates, so this is just going to be continuous rambling, I guess. I'll see if I can recall any of these. So here's the first thing. I said that I've always had this thought, but what's the difference between me dying and never uploading again versus just simply having moved on and not uploading again? So this is a weird one that I wrote down. I think I worded this very weirdly, but I think what I was trying to say was like my existence to other people. Like if, say, I cut myself off from even like my family members, right? Like I cut off my phone. I changed my phone number. I changed my social media stuff, all of my accounts, emails, and whatnot, and I just basically completely isolate myself socially. Even if I die in that state, like actually die, versus not dying, but just like living a completely different life. Like, what is my existence then defined by? Is I think what I was trying to get here. Like, what is my existence or purpose in this world without other people to reflect or how should I say this, to kind of like compare and contrast, right? What is existence without another thing to exist alongside with you? And I feel like maybe in a way, like me making this journal is just, how should I say this? Of just me feeling lonely in a sense. Like me, like I've always been talking with myself, right? And I never really talk to other people because I don't deem them trustworthy, nor do I want to like bother them with all of my random like trains of thoughts and stuff like that. I don't want to be bothersome to other people, and at the same time I find other people bothersome to me as well. That's why I talk to myself. But making these video journals and making them public feels kind of different in the sense that I am just throwing things out there and I don't have to like think about being bothersome to other people. I don't have to care if anyone's going to listen to what I have to say. If they want to check it out, they can do it voluntarily. If they don't have to hear anything. And that's kind of like what I find very, how should I say this, almost like beautiful about this whole thing, like comforting in a way. And how should I say this? It is something that's weirdly comforting for me right now, to just like throw my thoughts out there, not just like against myself, but just into like the empty void, even though the internet is not exactly empty, right? It's weird. But anyway, so that's just like a really short thought that I had. I think it's like almost right after, I think it's like a month after I've made my previous journal. And then I wondered, and then like this, I talked about how this whole thing, making journal, is also sort of like a thing to make me go into a rhythm. Yet, I think I mentioned this before as well, how making any kind of like announcement, even to myself consciously, to say I am doing this thing, will throw me off, like will make me lose motivation on my current projects. Like I think back then I was working on my video or a project, and I mentioned this, I think, that if I say publicly in any sort of sense, even just like to myself, I say that I am working on this, it will ruin my rhythm in a way where it's like I will suddenly lose a lot of motivation to keep making the video, or at least I will be I will start to procrastinate like a lot, which I don't really know why that is the case. And that's why I'm kind of like afraid to report on things before I'm done with it. And it's like I even at work, it's like if I'm still working on this one thing, I really don't want to be bothered. And if I do get bothered, it throws me off like really hard. I think it's like how, I don't know if anyone else has experienced this, but it's like, how sometimes, like when you're still at school, like, I don't know, high school or whatever, some days you're just like, you know what, I'm gonna do my homework early today. And you go to your room and you do your homework. And then while you're doing your homework, your parents or whatever suddenly come in and tell you, hey, it's time to do your homework. And it's really annoying. It's like, I am doing it right now. And then you get this sense of like, not like betrayal, but it's like you feel like you're not being trusted, right? It feels like you're not being well respected in your like own abilities to like do things voluntarily. And it feels like just very, how do I word this? Like it just feels uncomfortable and irritating. And after that, it's just like I don't want to do this anymore because it feels like because it just like ruins the entire like mood, right? Is like before I was like, yeah, I'll I feel like doing my homework early. I feel like gonna learn this new skill and better myself. And then someone else come in, hey, you should do this, and it's like, okay, I don't feel like doing it anymore because now maybe it feels like I'm being commanded to do something instead of doing things voluntarily. It feels like this thing I have decided to do has suddenly lost a lot of like autonomy, right? It doesn't feel like it's my decision anymore, and it kind of ruins everything. I don't know. Maybe I'm going a bit too deep with it. But yeah. And about the project, it's already been completed. It's been completed for quite a while, actually. But one thing, like, I mean, this has happened again and again, but it just feels like I was never really satisfied with what I did. Like, whether it's while writing the script, I can feel like quite excited and confident about it, but the next morning, almost always, I would feel like kind of like afraid, almost like incompetent about myself. It's like I feel it always feels like, oh, there's this thing that I could have done, there's that thing I could have done, and eventually, I don't know if this is a perfectionist. I think it's just a lot of self-doubt, but it really drags stuff out. And it feels like every day I wake up, it's like I become like a new person with a new kind of mind, with like new outlooks on things and everything. And I don't know, it just doesn't feel right, And sometimes sometimes it's not like sleeping is the only thing that gets me to, I guess, refresh myself. Sometimes it's just even like leaving my workstation, or I just like go take a shower, or just go eat a meal or anything, and then I come back and it's like, oh, what I did like 30 minutes earlier is completely garbage, and I hate myself for it. I don't know. It's a pretty negative cycle, I think, and that's, I think, kind of what really dragged my whole project on. And even like after releasing it, like what happens in the end is like, I just have to kind of force myself to accept that this thing is not going to be good, right? I feel like I'm not even trying to be perfect. I'm just trying to make myself satisfied. But in the end, I can never do that. So what ends up happening is just like, okay, I'll just release it. I'll just call it done, even though I still didn't really feel right about like what I made. And usually like after it's finally done, it's like everything's like submitted and whatnot. And then after like a month or two, or maybe not even a month or two, just like maybe a week, I come back and it's like, oh yeah, this part didn't make sense, that part didn't make sense. It's like obvious, I think, like objectively obvious, and I guess mistakes that I could have like fixed, I just wasn't able to fix, and it really just sucks, But anyways, at least I guess it got out there. At least I was able to. I guess that's part of the journey of self-improvement. You got to put something out there. You know what you're lacking, but you just need those things to be highlighted by other people, or by maybe not even other people, just like yourself, your different self, I guess. And you just gotta take it all in. It's just part of the journey. You can never like even satisfaction. My tongue's horrible. Even like self-satisfaction is like something you gotta, I guess, work on, right? It's like, how do I even word this whole thing? I don't know. It feels kind of gonna drink some water. It feels weird, right? It's like you're not satisfied this thing you're doing. You know, but it's like when you're in the moment, you just don't exactly know what is off. You know it feels off, but you can't really pinpoint what is off. And it's only you can try to refresh your mind or sleep on it or whatever, but some of these things are only become apparent after you said, okay, I'm done with this, I'm going to just release it, whatever. It's only after the fact, way after the fact, that you're finally realize these things. And it sucks. It's like, oh, these things, are so obvious, but somehow, oh, I just couldn't figure it out at the time. But that's just how it is, I guess. Where at the time, even if you try to refresh your mind, you're not gonna see it, because you yourself, I guess, were still in the mindset of I am currently working on this, not I am done with this. Or it's like this, it was in progress versus completion, right? And it's completely different mindsets and perspectives you take upon yourself when you're when you finally get into these different states. And I guess I just gotta keep going and keep. It's a learning process. Just gotta keep going, keep learning, I guess. And then I guess a few days later, this is the next thing that's on my journal. I mentioned, oh yeah, I tried BeanBoozled. And it really tastes horrible. It was making me gag very horribly. Yeah, oh my god, I'm having a bit of I'm a bit scarred by that now. At first, some of the flavors at first were oh yeah, this is fine, but then they sort of especially what was it? I think it was a new flavor or something. It was liver and onion, I think was the flavor. Now, liver and onion as an actual dish, I do not mind. But for some reason, the BeanBoozled flavor is absolutely horrendous. It's oh my god. It's very hard to pinpoint what it is. It doesn't really feel like any particular flavor after a certain point. It's just a thing, is a stimulant that makes you want to gag. Is what it kind of boiled down to towards the end. It's a stimulant that makes you want to gag, and not a particular flavor that is that feels horrible to feel. And that liver and onion flavor just kind of ruins all the other flavors as well. As even with the good flavors, it's nah, the bad one's still there. It was lingering for a few days, and it's really crazy what the hell that thing did. It's honestly kind of scary. And what else? That was just a short one. I tried BeanBoozled with my sisters, and yeah, apparently they took it quite well, or at least one of them took it quite well. The other one kind of chickened out and didn't really participate. But man, holy crap, one of them was crazy. They just take it. Also, I was very unlucky with the whole BeanBoozled thing. There was a little spinner thing where it's you roll for the flavor, and I would always get the bad flavor. Or it's you roll for the flavor, and then it's it's a chance to be good or bad. But it's I always get it bad, and I don't know why. It's horrible. I don't like it. Even mentioning it right now, it makes me feel kind of sick. It's yeah, it's not good. Would not recommend. And then, oh my god, there's so much. It is a few months, I guess, but there's quite a lot of stuff here. I don't think I'm gonna go through all of them in one go, do a huge recap. I feel like that's gonna be 2 hours long. Even right now, this is 20 minutes, and I've only gone through maybe 15% of everything. So yeah, I'll break this into parts, I guess. This is part one of the entire recap. I'll do part two when I feel like it. Right now, I guess like the things I'm going to mention next are kind of like depressing. So I don't want to like bring the entire mood down, and I want to just end this on a good note. I am going back to school tomorrow. Today is Labor Day, so it's a holiday, and tomorrow is first day of school. So yeah, don't wanna bring myself down a bit like too much here. That will come as the school year continues. But yeah, that's it for now.